Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Full Court Cleveland, live from the Big Play Studios and on the FanDuel Sports Network. We are right in front of a beautiful blue sky on top of the Lake Erie, and here we are. The ice is gone, and we're back, and we have a full squad. Let me tell you something. As we speak right now, March the 12th, almost a month after Boovie went in and requested this. Actually, he promoted helping the community during Valentine's Day, and the reason he has not been with us is because the demand for Boovie Gibson was so high that he was still fulfilling all the orders that came in for Valentine's Day. Boovie Gibson, how are you, man?
I'm doing all right, man. Hold on. Hello. I'm working right now, baby. I'm working. Yeah, the line's still going off, man, but I'm happy to be back, man. I miss you guys, man. I caught some of the episodes. I see we got some new people coming on board, the sponsors. I love what we're doing right now with the podcast, and I see it in every bar. Every time I'm in town and I don't make it to the show, it's still on every screen. So
I feel bad for people that can't get away from us. They see us on the arena, and they see us before the game, after the game. But thank you all for your
tuning in
for your loyalty, and obviously Sam Amico, the man with Amico Hoops, and what is it? The Hoops Wire.
Hoops Wire.
Wire.
Yeah.
How you doing?
I'm doing well.
Yeah.
Staying busy. It's March Madness, right? We're all excited because it's March Madness.
Yes,
for sure.
And it's March Madness kind of in the NBA, too.
March Madness. I'm Rafa, and the MAC is having some MAC action at Rocket Arena as we speak. Then the first round of the March Madness come to town at Rocket Arena. We're still waiting for Selection Sunday to see who's going to be there. But on today's show, we're going to have a little breakdown on what's going on with the Cavs headlines that are brought to you by our friends at Garage Beer. We're going to check out the upcoming matchups. And for the first time on Cleveland, on Full Court Cleveland, we're going to take a drive around the NBA that is presented by, like Boovie said, our new sponsors. Thank you to Infinity for joining us here. And we're going to talk about, this is the thing. How about this? This is the 13th episode that we have come back to the studios after the Cavs going undefeated for the week.
Yeah.
Since the season started.
We like the victory
55 and 10.
Yeah, we like the victory cigar. When we pop up, it's good things have happened, right? That mean the Cavs, when you see us, the Cavs are on a roll, baby. I'm loving it.
Sam, any way you look at this, 55 and 10, they're already clinched.
Yes.
I think it's fourth spot guaranteed, for which means home field advantage. First division, Central Division title since 1976 without number 23, LeBron James. And anything other than that is just finding different ways to win. Some people might be a little upset about the way they have fun. But I want to remind you all, when this process started after the final in 2018, 19 wins with J.B. Bickerstaff coming in after that in the middle of the season. And we heard a lot about Sam, learning how to win, learning how to finish games, learning how to do this. The Cavs have shown that they have finally figured out a way to do those things while facing teams that are in the process of learning how to hold a lead late in the game and how to hold up a veteran team that we are, because we've been together for so long. But at the end of the day, it all adds up to that they have figured out a way to get over the humps and the problems that they had throughout the game.
Yeah, if you remember the offseason, everybody was like, really? The Cavs aren't going to make any moves? They're just going to hire a coach?
Right.
And everybody was like, what are they doing here? They're not, everybody's talking about how the Sixers and the Knicks were making all these big moves with Paul George and Karl Anthony Towns. And the Cavs have really benefited from not making any roster moves and just, obviously a new coaching staff. But aside from that, these guys are used to playing together. They're used to being able to think, you know what, we can take over this game. We feel so confident together. I think the best thing they did was bring back the entire roster, and then they made their big move ahead of the trade deadline, getting DeAndre Hunter. So I think that those things are what leads to, hey, we're down 18, no big deal. Right. We got this.
Well, we're going to talk about that and a lot more in this episode of Full Court Cleveland. We got the full court here. Booby Gibson, Sam Amico, and yours truly, Rafa Hernandez Brito. The Cavs and the Celtics are the only two teams that didn't do much in the offseason, other than the Cavs re-signing Donovan Mitchell and bringing in Kenny Atkinson and re-signing Jared Allen. But, I mean, same staff, and it's the first and second team in the Eastern Conference. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to go around the Cavs headlines on Full Court Cleveland. Welcome back, everybody, to Full Court Cleveland. Booby, Sam, and Rafa. Ryan on the other side of the I was going to say on the other side of the glass, but it's not radio here. It's on the other side of the lens. It's the Ryan Tyler, directing the orchestra here at Full Court Cleveland. It's time for Cleveland headlines that are brought to you by our good friends at Garage Beer. Garage Beer comes in just two flavors, classic light lager and lime. No frills, no bitterness, no IPAs. It's just beer, flavored beer. And we invite you to find your local retailers who sell Garage Beer near you by visiting drinkgaragebeer.com. Bueno, the streak continues. Booby Gibson.
Yes, sir.
15.
Yeah.
And if you add the wins of the Cavs, but just those three winning streaks, which is 12, 15, and 15, they would be the third best team in the NBA. Only Oklahoma and the Celtics would be ahead of them with more victories. How insane is that?
I mean, it's really hard to put into words when you think about what this team has been able to do. But it just goes back to what Sam was just saying about just staying pat and just building that calm confidence, right? It was DJ's birthday at the Portland game, and you got guys sitting out, you got guys. So it's a trap game. I'm watching the game. DJ like, dang, they've been winning all the games. You're gonna lose on my birthday, right? So even me. But Darius came over and gave DJ a happy birthday wish. Tristan came over, and I'm like, the energy was like it didn't matter that they were down. Not saying that they didn't care, but I feel like they all understand that these games, this happens. And the NBA game is full of runs and momentum, and they don't change. They don't waver. They still play their basketball all the way through. No hero ball starts. Everybody still moves the ball. And I think that's just a big – we can attribute that to Kobe and Kenny putting in a system that these guys have completely bought into 1 through 15. And so that's kind of what I attribute it to. It's been beautiful to watch. The fans were standing up in the building the other night against Brooklyn, game 56 of the year.
Yeah.
When you go to other arenas, they just not getting that. So when I hear Darius say we have the best fans in the world and these guys are our six man, he means it. I've been a part of that feeling, and it's just nothing like, I'm just glad that it's happening in the city of Cleveland. It's giving these people something to cheer for, get behind, and root for. And I just want to see, keep it up and keep that same energy through the postseason.
But Sam, usually when we talk about let's look over for next week or let's look back behind the week that was, and like I said before earlier, it's the 13th show that we are recording that we have gone undefeated, meaning the Cavs.
Yep.
But, they won in Charlotte by 1, in Milwaukee by 2, in Brooklyn by 3, against Brooklyn here at home. But my point is, are we a little spoiled after seeing so many games won in a row with double digits, and also we talked about here in Full Court Cleveland how teams get up to play against us, how they, Mikal Bridges, 46, and you have the Nets who were throwing everybody in the kitchen out the window. But is it part of just being spoiled, part of the nature of the human being to just take it easy when you think you can have it, take it easy? Or what do you credit everything that has happened, even though we're still on a 15-game winning streak?
Yeah, like you said, It might be a little bit of human nature to have letdowns within the 48 minutes. When you're playing a team like the Nets at home, you looked at that game and you thought, well, they just beat the Lakers the previous night in Brooklyn, the Nets. They got to come here. The Cavs are resting. So I think there might be a little bit of human nature, but, Kenny Atkinson has stressed this. This team is so mature when it comes to just sticking with their principles and believing in them. As Booby said, give Kenny Atkinson and Kobe Altman credit for kind of instituting that culture and instituting that belief. One of my favorite lines this year by Jared Allen was, yeah, training camp, I had no idea what we were doing. And Darius Garland said, I just didn't even like what we were doing. But once they started to believe in it and trust in it, I think that they're seeing that all is possible and you can overcome these leads. But to answer your question, Ralph, yes, Cavs fans are a little bit spoiled right now because there's been like 7 times during this 15-game winning streak where I've been like, well, it ends tonight, but they come back and win.
That's what I'm saying. But is that spoiled, though? Because we could easily be winning these games by 20 points.
Right. But that's what they want.
But I'm leaving the game, and I'm talking to the fans, and they sweating. They like, whoo.
Believe it or not. And by the way, I have taken it upon myself to police social media so we can get material for a dumbest take of the month, of the week here. And we have a couple of candidates that just fight for it all the time. And when you find yourself, Ruby, and Sam and I can talk your ear off about this, but we'll ask you, who have been between the lines. You know what it is to be an NBA player.
For sure.
You know what it is to be in that kind of environment. What is it like, for example, Darius Garland, who took a lot of heat on these social media dumb takes that I'm talking about, for the 3 quarters that he had, and everybody was trading him after 3 quarters, and then he comes in and has, 16 points in the 4th quarter, takes over when it was needed. And again, talk to us a little bit about that human nature of coming into a game with a team that you think is going to have 3 G leaguers and guys that you think you're better than.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get up to play like you play against the Celtics or Oklahoma all the time.
Yeah, and that's the tough part about a long NBA season. Like, you have to find ways to self-motivate. You got to find things that get you going. Like, maybe they said something in an interview, or maybe they said we're coming in town and this team is the best team and we want to prove ourselves. You find little a bulletin board material, per se, that you can put on, that you can get guys going. But sometimes it just has to happen in the game. Sometimes you got to get hit in the mouth and then go in the locker room and look at your guy next to you and say, man, what we going to do? Either we going to fold, or is the team that we want to be at the end of the year a team that responds? And this team continues to respond on the road, at home, no matter the score, they're still playing together. And like you said, he could go 3 quarters, but these guys stick together. And I even see them on the bench motivating each other, clapping each other up, dabbing each other up. That game you were talking about, I saw Spider. He wasn't playing that game. I see him catch Darius at half court, and I'm sure he told him, like, hey, you good, bro. We don't care about you missing those shots. We know what you're going to do. And I think that's just that confidence that these guys have built within each other through those battles and wars over the years, to where now it's just, they just show up and do what they do.
And you mentioned something very important. I go back at you because one of the things that is a sign of a good team is that when things go bad, there is no finger pointing.
Right.
Usually bad teams, you see them arguing, you see them upset because a ball, sometimes you see a guy like fake the cut this way and come back, but the passer throws this way.
Yep.
It's hard to know what your teammate is thinking, right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say that that's one of the best things that we have seen about this team during this time? They have come back, I think, 12 times of 18 points down or more. I believe, call me a half glass half full type of guy, but I believe those are signs that are going to come in very big in the playoff. Absolutely. When the guys can actually stay together during tough times and figure out a way to make the comeback.
That's what it's all about. And to piggyback off what you said, it's been different guys in different moments. That game, again, DJ's birthday, it was DeAndre Hunter coming through at the end of that game. And you had Darius. We obviously have Spider. We've had Ev step up at different moments. So I just think, like you said, these guys are continuing to build that confidence in knowing that we're not always going to be winning the basketball game. We're not always going to be playing our best basketball. But if we can, in those moments, put it on our defense to get stops right now if the shots aren't going in. Trust the pass, so let Sam get hot at the end of that 3rd quarter. So I just think that each of these guys is finding their moments so that, obviously, in the playoffs, I would think that some of the rotations would change a little bit, but every guy will be ready because they've been thrown into these moments all season.
Yeah.
Well, we used to have a time machine here that Sam drives, but because we have a new sponsor from Infinity, we have to change our time machine. So When we come back, we're gonna put Sam in his hot tub time travel machine.
I'm all right with the hot tub. I could use
and
a
we look about what's coming up for the Cavs on Full Court Cleveland. Welcome back, everybody, to Full Court Cleveland. Ryan, Tyler, Ruby Gibson, Sam Amico, and yours truly, Rafa Hernandez Brito. And we're gonna look into the future. And Sam loves doing that. He's gonna have like a crystal ball and thing in that. And I'm gonna go with you first because we go to Memphis, a team that gave us a really good battle, and a team that is in a serious fight. We'll talk about that later in the Western Conference. How do you see that matchup to start? Not the West Coast trip because they come back home for a matinee on Sunday, but it's basically a long West Coast against West Coast team for the Cavs coming up.
Yeah, you have Memphis, which obviously you said they have a lot of fight, and it seems like they do fight just about every game they got into a fight here.
Regardless of who's in there, right?
Yeah, I think it was against the Rockets the other night that something went down. So I think that, if you're the Cavs, obviously this is a playoff type game because Memphis plays playoff style basketball all year. They're very physical. They do a lot of chirping, and they're very good. And obviously with Morant, that's a defensive nightmare. Yeah. So they're just that's a game that you look at like, okay, this is what the playoffs are going to be like, even though it's March in the NBA. Right, and where a lot of times people are paying so close attention to college basketball, but these are the type of games you're winning 15. You've won 15 in a row. If you're the Cavs, you've got a target on your back. Obviously, Memphis is one of those teams that's going to be out for you, And then after that, obviously Orlando at home, and then you're right, Raf, big West Coast trip, which is just a massive West Coast trip, much longer than the last one. So. Yeah, these are all moments that you're helping to form the habits and prepare for the playoffs.
I think 10 of the next 13 games for the Cavs are against Western Conference teams. So, but going back to what we were talking about in the last segment, Booby, the Cavs are doing something that now you as a veteran might understand and help us understand what it means to the team because they play the Nets and flew immediately after because Garland wanted to take his buddies home. So they went to Nashville first, spent a day and a half in Nashville to travel to Memphis for the game. What does that mean in terms of the camaraderie? We always talked about how on the road is when the team comes together because you share meals, you share everything. That is something from the coaching staff and also from DG trying to take that leadership role in trying to take the team maybe a little reload. Or what does that do to the team?
That actually, that speaks volumes because I was watching. That's crazy that you said that. I was watching the Texas Vanderbilt game, and Darius and Tristan were courtside, and I was wondering. I'm like, damn, don't they got a couple more days before they get there? But
the whole team went.
Right. Now that you say that, when you see guys hanging out together off the court, that's a whole different level of confidence and camaraderie that you display on the floor. You just have a trust in your teammate. You just feel like you know where they're going to be. You trust them in every moment of the game, and I think that's what we've been seeing. So clearly it's the off the court is starting to fuse into on the court, and obviously these guys are just playing hard and playing dynamic. But I did not know that they flew down there as a team because when we would do that, to answer your question, Bron would do the same thing. He would have things set up for us as a group, and in most teams, everybody won't show up. But all of us have our different lives, and we would always find time to show up. And that just shows how invested this club is in what we're trying to do.
And everybody went, coaching staff, players.
That's
everybody
pretty cool.
The DG wanted to have everybody at home. So back at you for the look into the future, Sam. You mentioned Memphis, the Magical. It's a team that's still we still don't know where they are with their injuries, but it's a dangerous team. And then Memphis and Orlando are trying to avoid losing the second game, each of them, in this streak that we have right now of 15. So it hasn't been really against, I think half of the games have been against teams with a winning record.
Yeah.
But then you go with the West Coast trip, with the Clippers, Sacramento, back-to-back.
Yeah.
That is a tough back-to-back on the road.
Yeah. I don't think it's any tougher than the Golden State Warriors and Los Angeles Lakers on the road, and they won both of those.
On New Year's Eve.
Right. On
sure.
the day after LeBron's birthday. So I think that, with this team, as we've seen, everything's possible. Who knows how long this streak can stretch. But beyond that, really, it's just, you feel good about how they've been playing in terms of, as we've said, it's a find a way kind of team, right? I mean, not every game's the same with them, and that's what I like with the Cavs is that they find different ways to win, as Booby was talking about earlier. You know, it might be Sam Merrill getting hot at the end of the third quarter. It might be Darius Garland struggling for the first 3 quarters, and then all of a sudden coming alive in the fourth. West Coast, East Coast, South, Northwest, I don't care. They can win anywhere against anyone, anytime.
You know, you just reminded me of something I wanted to ask Booby, because we keep talking about this whole winning, coming back against teams that everybody wants to win by 50. And it's the NBA. I always say from 1 to 17 could start on any team if given the opportunity. And the Cavs have run into teams that have had hot nights, like Mikal Bridges and everything you want. But on the other side, on this past week, Booby, Max Strus became the 9th Cavaliers player to lead the team in scoring this season. And 4 guys from the bench scored 9 points. That was a game where Donovan Mitchell didn't have more than 18 points.
Right.
And still the Cavs kept their 120-plus average, the best offense in the league. So how do you explain that? I mean, it's really hard to put into numbers and make it make sense.
See, that right there is really hard to fathom, right? Because you could talk about depth, but not most of the guys don't have the potential to lead your team in scoring. Like, they could come in and have a quick moment, but you normally get back to your guys at the end of the game to win the game for you. But back to Coach Kenny, and what he's done with this group is, if a guy is rolling and a guy has a high hand, I've seen him switch that lineup and let that guy play a little bit longer into his run. And to me, that's just great coaching, because some coaches get right back to their guys and they only depend on them.
He hasn't gotten off the track.
You kept mentioning Mikal Bridges, and I think he just came out and said he went straight to Coach Tibbs, like, "Hey, Coach, listen," because he doesn't miss games. And for him to come out and say, "Coach Tibbs, man, you got to give us a break. Like, we're playing for it. The bench is good. The bench is okay." He came out and said that, and so not sure if Tibbs will listen, but clearly Coach Kenny understands that for this group, and I think that's what you can kind of attribute to all these guys feeling like starters, feeling like if I'm on the floor, I'm going to max out on this time I'm on the floor, because Coach is going to give me that opportunity. And I'm loving to see it. And I didn't get to mention my guy, Ty Jerome, but he's been that for us.
I'll mention him right now. And we have like a minute to go, Sam. Another good sign for me, and I know Kenny had mentioned in his pregame conference that he's going to start ramping up instead of what people think they're going to start resting people. Right? He's going to say, I'm going to get him ready for minutes. Last game against Brooklyn with Hunter, Jerome, and Don out, you kind of saw what Booby was just talking about. 3 guys taking over and saying, okay, you know what, it's our night, we got to do it. All 3 over 20 with Allen, Mobley, and Garland.
That's just this team's MO, right? I mean, you find ways to win and score, and it's really a product of their offense. Everybody's getting good looks at the basket. And what I like that, in so many of these games during this 15-game winning streak, the shots weren't going in. Yeah, but they're doing it. They're doing the intangibles too, and that's what's going to matter in the postseason.
All right, when we come back, Booby has been absent fulfilling his Valentine's orders, but and we have been letting Sam Amico go like the top 3-ish, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But I don't know how Booby's going to police that segment when we come back. We're going to top rank. Well, I'll tell you when we come back on Full Court Cleveland. All right, everybody, de regreso con Full Court Cleveland, Daniel Booby Gibson, Samuel Amico, y Rafa Hernandez Brito. Booby's still fulfilling orders. It's time to do Nikola Jokic. We're going to go around the NBA when we come back in the next segment, but Nikola Jokic had the first ever, and when you do something the first time for a league like the NBA or in baseball, I think it's incredible, no matter what it is. Yeah. The first ever 30-20-20 game this past week, at least 30 points, 20 rebounds, and 20 assists in a winning effort, by the way. So we're going to power rank the most impressive individual performances you have ever seen.
Man, just you saying that about Joker, it's just so mind-boggling because you watch him run down the court and you don't even think he's gonna make it sometimes. But he gets down there, either gets a bucket, an assist, or a rebound every trip.
He was
down
almost
the floor.
responsible for like almost 100 points that game.
Come on, man.
with what he scored and the 20 assists.
Right. And so I'm finna go to a game that I was able to witness on the floor. It was right before my Game 6 game that everybody remembers from me.
Of course.
Best game I've ever watched in my life was that LeBron James game, Game 5, Eastern Conference Finals.
Yep.
What's that, 2006, 2007?
Yeah.
Man, when he flipped that switch in the fourth quarter, I believe, and the talk was he can't shoot, back up off of him and give him shots, and he literally started making shots, and then they started coming up, and like literally, we all were just fans that night. None of us scored for the last overtime in the fourth quarter.
You were just watching.
I had a front row seat to one of the greatest games ever, and I would say that's my top one, just that I was ever able to witness and see.
What about what's your top 10?
Top 10. That would definitely be the one movie mentioned.
Sure has
is definitely
By the
way
way,
up
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Reggie Jackson, Mr. October, used to say that he hated playing. The only one thing he hated about playing baseball is that he couldn't watch himself play live.
Oh,
so
man.
I'm sure you hated that about your game.
I've watched it enough times.
I know,
to where I feel like I was in the building.
Go ahead, Sam.
Movie was watching it at halftime. He's rewinding it. Hold on, Coach. I got something to see.
Game 6 for sure.
I would say that would be, obviously I didn't see that live, but one of the ones I saw live was when LeBron hit that buzzer beater against the Orlando Magic in the playoffs. Actually lost that series.
I had another front row seat for that.
Yeah, that was a pretty amazing performance there individually. One of the first ones as a kid I watched that probably stands still to this day is the most was when Jordan scored 63 against the Celtics in Boston.
Yeah,
in
but
Boston
lost.
And lost. They lost double overtime?
Yeah, I remember that.
But why you always taking shots here?
I remember
that. And lost. He was a rookie.
Yeah.
Dominic Wilkins had a big night.
And you know what?
Lost.
Jordan missed that whole year with a broken foot, and the Bulls didn't want him to come back and play. Yeah. And he said, "I'm playing in the playoffs," because the Bulls were the 8th seed, the Celtics were number 1, and
you wanted that taste of it.
Yeah, and he scored 63, and I mean, it was just amazing how he just looked like. I remember Larry Bird after the game was like, that was like God disguised as Michael Jordan, So I mean, it was just amazing. But I know you were, he's a Celtics guy.
That's why that's why I was messing with him.
But that was probably the most. I mean, LeBron's game against Detroit, though. Yeah. I mean, that was just.
I have 3-ish. I'll give you the 3 first. 2 that I call. Okay. And moments that I witnessed. The first one is Donovan's 71 points, which I think is just. I know Kobe had 81. I know what's his name had 100, but just watching it live and being able to call it missing.
What's his name? Wilt Chamberlain.
Wilt Chamberlain missing the free throw, and putting it back up to
the
tie
way he got it was cool.
So to me that was just a really amazing night to witness because it's a historic thing, right?
Absolutely.
This is another one. Game 5. Of the 2016 finals, after David Griffin has sent an email to everybody in the family about why we were destined to win the championship, being down 3-1, he sent this 2-page email about, why it makes sense that this was going to be us, and don't get on the plane if you don't think you're going to win it.
Yeah.
And Braun and Kyrie have 41 apiece, and at Oracle Arena, it was just.
That was
yes.
Pretty
Game
amazing.
7 is up, but Game 5 of having that comeback to come back for Game 6 at the best I have ever seen the Rocket Arena. The queue at the time, everybody wearing the black T-shirts with the CLE in wine in the chest. That's good. And then the third one is something
there it is. There's a third one. You know what's coming.
The third one, something that I witnessed as a fan. 1994 Eastern Conference Finals, Game 6 in the NHL playoff. Mark Messier guaranteed that they were going to win against the Devils.
The Rangers.
The Rangers.
Okay. I know one hockey guy.
Yeah, I was right? You're schooling me with this.
He guaranteed they were going to go to New Jersey and win to come back and win and go to the finals. And they were down 2-0.
Yeah.
at the beginning of the third period, and Mark Messier, who had guaranteed the win, scored a hat trick.
Wow.
To win the game for the Rangers. So I thought that was like really.
That's pretty amazing. Something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty amazing comeback.
And as you're telling me that I'm saying, I'm always throwing
number 5.
I'm always dishing it out. I was at the Madison Square Garden when Michael Jordan played his 5th game after the suspension. I mean, after he went to play baseball. I would say suspension. I don't know why. He went to play baseball. And he had a double nickel against the Knicks at Madison Square Garden. His 5th game after being away for the game for 2 years.
When he had the 45 on.
Yeah. So that was just amazing to me.
Yeah.
You snuck him in there. You got your 5 in. I'm gonna go throw one more, and I gotta get Kobe his love, man. I gotta
81.
Gotta get the 81 is due. Just because that's just right next to Wilt. Somebody getting out there, just getting that many points, and it wasn't a lot from the line. It was really him getting buckets, and so. Yeah, shout out to Bean, the Mamba.
Yeah, he wasn't in my team, so I never rooted for him. We'll be right back with more on Full Court Cleveland. Welcome back, everybody, to Full Court Cleveland, and we are really happy and honored to welcome our new sponsor, Infinity, which brings the Full Court Cleveland around the NBA. We're going to take a drive around the NBA because with Infinity, safety has never looked this good. With a suite of standard intelligent safety features, the all-new QX80 is as safe as it is luxurious. The Infinity QX80 is great to the whole family as it offers 3 spacious rows and is an IIHS top safety pick. So go check out everything Infinity has to offer right now, and let's take a drive around the NBA on the top storyline. I know we talk about the QX80, but I know Infinity also has a QX55, which is the amount of wins that the Cavs have right now. So
what do you know?
Let's go around, drive around in a QX55, right? Playoff races. JP Bickerstaff has the Pistons basically tied for that 4th spot.
JB, man. Shout out to he's a culture guy, man. Culture guy. He's went out there and he kind of making them. You said the Rockets and Memphis be fighting. He got them boys out there ready to rumble. Like Beef Stew seemed like he get into a fight every night. It's like the bad boy Pistons of 2025. So shout out to JB for getting in with those guys and making them believe, adding a few veterans to that roster and putting them in a position to do something. Detroit deserved that. As much as they hate me, they still hate me from Game 6. Listen, I don't hate y'all. I want to see y'all have as much success as y'all can. So shout out to the Pistons.
He's telling me I always throw shade. He always finds a way to that's even when he's apologizing, he's throwing salt in the wound.
Nah, that's because every time I go to Detroit, they still hit me with the same stuff, man. They can't stand me.
How could they not?
I mean, it's so long to let it go.
But in the situation in the 4th spot in the East is Milwaukee, Indiana, and the Knicks. Half a game separate the Knicks from that. How do you see that? I mean, the Pistons, I'm sorry. How do you see that? And I got the Knicks in my head because one of those 3 teams is gonna have to end up going to Madison Square Garden in the first round if the Knicks stay, whether 3rd or 2nd.
Yeah. Well, I've been so focused on number 1. I mean, who's paying attention to 4 or 5? But you know what? I mean, everybody's kind of, if you're talking about that part of it, number 4 and number 5, everybody's kind of, I think, that's underrated NBA rivalry. These 2 teams don't like each other, clearly, are the Bucks and the Pacers. Yeah. And they're in 4 and 5 right now. So I think that's probably how it's going to stay. But like I said, Roth, there's a possibility. I mean, the Detroit Pistons, you can't rule them out and sneaking up there because they're winning these games that everybody's like, the Pistons are on the road against a higher seed or a team with a better record, and the Pistons ends up winning. So I think that 3 through 6 are going to come down to that final week in the Eastern Conference.
And speaking of safety features, and by the way, Infinity, if you want to send me a QX80 so I can show it around Cleveland and promote it with Bowie, go ahead and send it. But you definitely need all the safety features of the QX80 from Infinity to drive around the fight for the 2nd place in the West Coast, because in the Western Conference, Memphis, Denver, LA, and Houston within 1 game from each other.
Oh, hey, listen, Rob. If we could pull up in the Infinity, I would love that part of it.
You like that idea, right?
I do love that, but I would not want to. I'm not sure if I want to pull up to the 2 spot or the 3 spot if I'm on the West, because at the bottom of that is those Golden State Warriors who just added Jimmy Butler.
Might even be Phoenix too.
Right.
If you're in the 8th spot.
That's a dangerous team in my book right now. If I had a dark horse going into that Western Conference that's playing with Jimmy Butler, I believe they're 12-1 in the games that he's played. And they just have, sometimes you make a trade and it just gives your team a whole different confidence. And I think Steph always had that aura, and because they won championships before, he feel like he's always missing one piece. That's probably just always in his head. And I'm just seeing him play with that Steph Curry swagger. So I don't know who's going to get in that 2 spot. It's probably going to be a younger team. Yeah. And I'm not sure if they want to run up against the greatest shooter of all time this go round.
Right.
All right, so now you heard it here first. Booby is confirming that Jimmy Butler has found happiness again. He found his heart in San Francisco.
Yeah, just for a little bit, though.
People have left it there. Jimmy Butler found it.
Sometimes with Jimmy, you just never know. Once the infatuation phase is over, sometimes it switches. So we don't. Right now, he's happy.
He's happy.
He's happy right now.
But another team that was mentioned in this conversation, Sam, is that Minnesota, who has been looming around.
Yeah.
I mean, they're 9 games over 500. How many games are they? And they're still in the plane. They're still looming around. That's another team that you don't. What's his name, man?
Anthony Edwards.
Yeah. In the playoff, he gets hot.
Yeah.
Well,
he can send you home.
Right. And I mean, if that's a team that was in the Western Conference Finals last year, they seem to have the Nuggets number, and the Nuggets could be facing them in the first round.
Good call.
That's the way that matchup could go. But Minnesota's a team, look, they traded Karl Anthony Towns, so they could potentially pull it all together right at the time when it means the most. So the Western Conference is,
that's what
it's so hard to predict anybody coming out of there.
Yeah, I was looking at the standings the other day as we talked about it, and I know there was no clear-cut favorite in my opinion. I know we love OKC, but I think we understand that
but you have to be tested
young.
too in the
right.
playoffs.
There's some things that you just have to go through in order to understand what it takes to win that ship. And so I think the West is like completely wide open to the team that gets the hottest and is just playing the best.
And that's why I think we are ahead of Oklahoma. If we both get to the finals, Cavs, Oklahoma, I'm talking about, it's different because you already made it to the finals. But for them to get to the finals and have to learn, basically we're like a couple of seasons ahead of them in the process of learning and getting that bad taste in your mouth. So let's look at the big matchups for next week. Friday, Lakers against the Nuggets. The Nuggets. The Nuggets have 14-4 record, both of them since January 30th. The 4 losses for Denver, Oklahoma, Boston, Milwaukee, all on the road, and against the Lakers at home. But the Lakers had lost on the road to Brooklyn, Utah, and Boston, and lost at home to Charlotte.
Yeah, well, the Lakers are unpredictable, but I mean, if they don't have LeBron. If they don't have LeBron for that game, which it doesn't seem like they're gonna,
They got Bronny though. So,
come on, man.
But it works out. It works out though because I told you they might want to slide. You just might not want to be sitting up there at 2 and 3. With those guys.
Yeah,
so they might want to slide.
You really play that way though? It's like
you don't.
Because right now in the West they could drop all the way to the plane.
That is true. You don't want to drop that far. But that's what I'm saying. It could be a little bit. It could be fortunate a little bit. The fact that they're playing without Bron. Luka can get into his Luka bag for a little while, get going, get some other guys going, and hopefully he comes back at the end and they can maybe get around that way.
Is Luka bag like in and out now, or is it something else on Luka's bag?
Nah, Luka's back. I think he was grabbing his back against Boston though. I was worried because I was like, they was talking about Anthony Davis being healthy and Luka be looking like he's on the fringe.
His back is looking.
But we'll see. We'll see.
A little weight loss.
The Luka Lakers right now.
Saturday, Thunder at Detroit, Knicks at Warriors, and then on Sunday, the Thunder at Milwaukee.
Yeah, those are all big tests. Obviously, Oklahoma City went into Boston and won there, which I'm with Charles Barkley all the way because the next day all they're talking about was a finals preview.
Yeah.
And I'm like, excuse me, what about the number 1 team in the league, right?
That's on a win streak right now.
Yeah, right.
We talked about finals preview the other day when it was Denver against who was playing.
I guess these are all options, right? We're not trying to exclude the Cavs. We just trying to say that
other teams are possible.
Are playing.
Sure.
Lakers, Celtics, they're like a finals preview. Like, come on.
Yeah. Well,
any game is a finals preview right now. Oklahoma Pistons could be a finals preview. Come on. No, I'm saying if you're gonna put it that way.
I hear you.
So anyway, your question was Who do I think that the Thunder obviously have a tough schedule ahead, as do the Cavs. You know, I looked at their schedules because I don't get out enough, but this is probably the two toughest months for the Cavs and the Thunder in terms of schedules.
It's not a letdown now yet, Boobie, but you know the Mavs and the Pacers were both in the conference finals, and more than likely they both will not be in the conference finals this year. How do you put that into words about letdown or just the way the wheel turns?
Nico Harris, no, just playing. But yeah, that's tough. That's tough. I mean, I also think that health and timing and opportunity sometimes play into these teams making it to the conference finals. I mean, the Hawks were in the conference finals like 2 or 3 years ago. So sometimes you just play the right teams and get right at the right time, but you're not necessarily built to sustain that. You know, I don't see those guys. Or I saw the Mavericks as a title contender, but not so much the Pacers. But yeah, I think with Dallas, they're going to have a lot to do this summer. There's a lot of guys with player options that they're assuming will be coming back. So I don't know when we'll see them if we want to win the championship right now. I don't know how that's looking for the Mavs. But, yeah, it's just tough. I think a lot of it, even with us, a lot of it is health, timing, and how your team is playing going into the postseason that kind of determines who's crowned at the end.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the maiden voyage on the QX80 of Infinity going around the NBA. If you're in the market for a safe, slick, sophisticated new vehicle, be sure to check out the all-new QX80, and hopefully in a week or so you can come down to a parking lot and see mine. Bad news, we have to go. The good news, we come back next week because Boobie's going to be in town, so he's going to be enjoying Cleveland, and he's going to be back for another episode of Full